We are thrust right into the mind of Jake Sully. He's a paralyzed former Marine who just woke up from a cryosleep that lasted exactly 5 years, 9 months, and 22 days. He is stepping in for his dead twin brother, Tommy, a scientist who spent years training for a mission light years away from Earth. Jake, well, by his own admission, he's just a dumb grunt who happens to share the exact same genome as his brother. So he's crossing deep space toward a moon called Pandora, leaving behind a completely shattered life on Earth to dive headfirst into the unknown.
Back home, Jake's reality was pretty grim. He was stuck in a wheelchair in a VA hospital, living in a broken economy where he just couldn't afford the spinal surgery to fix his legs. So those dreams of flying, they were this desperate yearning for freedom, a stark contrast to his waking life, and his brother being killed for the paper in his wallet only made that void deeper. This deep-seated need to be whole again, to truly be free, perfectly sets the stage for his rebirth on a world that is absolutely breathtaking but completely hostile to human biology.
Welcome to Pandora. That brutal reality hits Jake the literal second he breathes the air, or rather, realizes he needs an exopack just to keep from passing out in 20 seconds. The human base, Hell's Gate, is a heavily militarist corporate fortress. Colonel Korich, who runs security with a team of ex-military mercenaries, makes it terrifyingly clear. Pretty much every living thing outside their fence wants to kill them. That includes the indigenous humanoid population, the Na'vi. So, to survive, the scientists, led by the brilliant but definitely abrasive Dr. Grace Augustine, rely on a specific technology: avatars. These are remotely controlled bodies grown from a mix of human DNA and Na'vi DNA. By linking their nervous systems to these avatars, humans can actually breathe the toxic air and physically interact with the planet. And because Jake shares Tommy's exact genetics, he's the only guy who can drive this insanely expensive, fully matured avatar body. For Jake, it means he can finally walk, run, and feel the dirt under his feet again.
Now, this brings us to the stark central conflict driving the whole story. The corporate administrator Parker Selfridge lays out the human objective bluntly. They are there to mine a little gray rock called unobtainium, which sells for $20 million a kilo back on Earth. That's what pays for the entire operation, the science included. On the flip side is the Na'vi reality. They are protecting their sacred home, which just so happens to sit right on top of the richest deposit of unobtainium within 200 kilometers. The humans view the forest as an obstacle to their quarterly profits, while the Na'vi view it as a sacred, interconnected biological network they absolutely have to defend.
These competing agendas build a massive ticking clock for our protagonist. Colonel Quaritch sees a huge opportunity in Jake, a Marine inside an avatar body. He tasks Jake with acting as a double agent on the ground, with a strict 3-month deadline. Month 1, learn the savages from the inside. Month 2, gain their trust and provide tactical intel on their home tree. Month 3, negotiate their relocation before the corporate bulldozers roll in. And the payoff? In exchange for this actionable intelligence, Quartz promises Jake the one thing he wants most in the world: his real legs back when he returns to Earth.
Section 2. Learning to See.
Jake's education kicks off when he accidentally plunges into the deep jungle during his very first mission. Separated from the team and chased by a massive apex predator, he barely survives the night. He's only saved by Neytiri, a highly skilled Na'vi hunter. When she brings him before the clan leaders, Moat, the spiritual leader, notes that they've tried to teach other sky people before, but it is hard to fill a cup which is already full. Jake, however, straight up admits his cup is entirely empty. He's no scientist, he's a blank slate. So Moat makes the fateful decision that Neytiri herself will teach Jake their ways to see if his insanity can be cured. This launches Jake into a grueling physical and spiritual education. He learns their language, learns to move silently through the forest, and most importantly, begins to understand their core belief that all energy is merely borrowed and one day it must be returned.
Central to all this is mastering to Sahelu, or the bond. This is a profound physical connection where a Na'vi links their neural cue to a creature, completely mating their nervous systems. Through this, they can literally feel the animal's heartbeat and breath, directing it not with words, but with thoughts and feelings. Jake's mastery of this culminates in a terrifying rite of passage. He climbs high into the floating Hallelujah Mountains to bond with an Ikran or Banshee. But here's the catch. He has to choose a Banshee that also chooses him, which usually means the creature will try to kill him first. Surviving this and taking his first flight seals the bond, making him a true hunter.
Section 3. The Network of Life.
As Jake dives deeper into the culture, the narrative reveals the breathtaking scientific reality underneath their spiritual beliefs.
What Quaritch dismisses as pagan voodoo, Dr. Grace Augustine discovers is a profound, measurable biological phenomenon. You see, the Na'vi pray to Iwa, their deity and great mother, but Grace's research reveals that Iwa actually functions as a measurable, global electrochemical communication system. The roots of the trees on Pandora interact with each other, a lot like the synapses between neurons in a brain. It's a vast, living, global network that the Na'vi can literally plug into using Zahelu. Through sacred sites like the Tree of Souls, they can upload and download data, access the memories of their ancestors, and physically hear their voices within the biological framework of the planet itself.
The sheer scale of this organism is just staggering, 10 to the 12th. Grace explains to the corporate administrators that each tree has 10,000 connections to the trees around it, and there are a trillion, literally 10 to the 12th trees on Pandora. To put that into perspective, this planetary network has more connections than the human brain. The real wealth of Pandora isn't some gray rock buried in the dirt. It's this incredibly advanced, interconnected biological web all around them. But the corporate leaders? Completely blinded by their balance sheets. They refuse to wake up to this reality, viewing the Na'vi merely as fly-bitten savages that live in a tree.
Section 4. The Fall of Home Tree.
Things violently accelerate right as Jake's 3-month deadline expires. He's passed the final tests, he's been accepted as one of the Omaticaya people forever, and he's made it for life with Neytiri before Ewa. But just as he fully integrates into this dream, reality crashes down hard. The bulldozers arrive, completely destroying the sacred Tree of Voices. Jake is given just 1 hour to convince the clan to evacuate Home Tree before heavily armed gunships arrive. But when he finally confesses that he was originally sent as a spy and that he knew the military was coming all along, the heartbreak is absolute. Neytiri, totally devastated, screams that she trusted him and that he will never be one of the people. Rather than fleeing, the clan binds Jake and Grace, preparing to fight a hopeless battle against heavily armed gunships using just bows and arrows. The betrayal shatters the bridge Jake spent months building.
Switch incendiaries. That's the order Quaritch gives to kick off the brutal military assault. Initially using gas to flush them out, the Na'vi respond with futile arrow fire. So Quaritch turns up the heat, firing high-explosive missiles directly into the base of the massive Home Tree columns. The destruction is catastrophic. Home Tree, an ancient, colossal structure that housed the entire clan, groans and collapses in flames. In the chaos and ash, Aitukan, the clan leader, is killed, leaving a grieving Neytiri to tell Jake to go away and never come back.
As the tragedy unfolds in the forest, back at the base, the command is given to pull the plug. Jake and Grace are forcibly ripped from their avatar links mid-session and thrown in a cell for treason. It really is the ultimate all-is-lost moment. However, with the help of a rogue pilot named Trudy and a loyal scientist, Max, they stage this daring escape in a helicopter. But during the frantic flight to safety, Colonel Quaritch fires blindly into the fleeing ship, and Grace is mortally wounded in the abdomen. They manage to escape deep into the floating Alleluia Mountains, but they are completely cut off and running out of time.
Section 5. Toruk Makto unites.
Jake realizes that as an outcast and a betrayer, he can't just walk back into the survivors' camp to ask for help saving Grace. He has to make an insane life-or-death gamble to regain their absolute trust and prove his loyalty beyond a shadow of a doubt. He remembers Neytiri telling him the legend of Toruk Makto, the rider of Last Shadow. The great Leonopatrix, or Toruk, is the undisputed apex predator of the Pandoran sky. She said Toruk Makto had only happened 5 times in all of history, and that he was mighty, bringing the clans together in a time of great sorrow. Figuring that the baddest cat in the sky never looks up, Jake literally drops from above and successfully bonds with the beast. When he lands among the grieving Omaticaya riding the legendary Toruk, their awe is absolute. Instantly, he reclaims his place and their respect.
With his authority restored, Jake initiates 3 desperate steps. First, he pleads for Iwa's help at the Tree of Souls, trying to permanently transfer Grace's consciousness into her avatar body. But her wounds are just too great, and she passes, joining Iwa. Second, driven by this terrible loss, Jake rallies the new clan leader Tsute and Neytiri. He tells them they must send a message to the Sky People. Third, they ride out to the 4 winds, to the horse clans of the plain, the Ikran people of the sea, calling all the clans together to fight for their land.
Within a single day, over 2,000 warriors mass in the mountains, with thousands more pouring in. Back at Hell's Gate, Quaritch is tracking this massive Aboriginal horde via orbital images. Fearing the base will be completely overrun, he mounts a preemptive shock and awe campaign. They rig a massive shuttle with mine explosives to act as a bomber, aiming directly for the Tree of Souls. Destroying this sacred site would blast a literal crater in the Na'vi's racial memory and crush their spirit forever. The battle lines are drawn.
In the brutal aerial and ground battle that follows, the Na'vi fight valiantly, using the mountain's magnetic interference to their advantage. But bows and arrows ultimately fail against armored gunships. Sute falls, Trudy is shot down, and the Na'vi are forced into a desperate retreat. Just as all seems entirely lost, Neytiri screams, "Awa has heard you." The planet's very immune system engages. Thousands of wild banshees and massive ground creatures surge from the forest, completely overwhelming the corporate forces. The Great Mother, who previously only protected the balance of life, actually takes his side. Quaritch is killed by Neytiri, and the bomber is destroyed.
Section 6. A New Life Begins.
The shock and awe campaign is crushed, and the corporate stronghold is overtaken. The conflict is over, and the time of great sorrow ends. The Na'vi reclaim their world. The aftermath is swift and decisive. As Jake notes, the aliens went back to their dying world. The mercenaries and corporate leaders are marched onto their ships and expelled from Pandora for good. Only a few trusted scientists are chosen to remain. Jake, having led the defense of the planet, realizes his role as Toruk Makto is no longer needed, but his journey as part of the Almatikaya is just beginning. In his final video log on his birthday, Jake signs off on his human life forever. Beneath the Tree of Souls, the clan performs the ritual one last time, permanently transferring Jake's consciousness from his broken human body into his strong, vital Na'vi avatar. He opens his eyes, reborn.
Jake's journey wasn't just about finding a new body. It was about opening his mind to a network of life far greater than himself. It took a paralyzing loss to force him to look beyond his own worldview. And once he learned to truly see the interconnectedness of Pandora, he was willing to risk absolutely everything to defend it. So look at the connections in your own life, the networks of energy and community around you. If you learned to truly see your world, what would you fight to protect?